Let's get into our next conversation around privatization now with Irungu Nyakera. He's just got into studio. Of course, he is an economist as well. He is an Ivy League graduate in the matters of economics recently as well. Congrats, by the way, Irungu. And of course, he's also the patron for DCP Nairobi. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
It's good to have you.
Thank you for having me here today.
Good to have you. Let's just begin the conversation with this whole push for privatization. And we know where it stems from. It's we need money. We need money. Let's look at it objectively. Pros, cons, and how much is too much privatization?
Thank you. I think on privatization, I think we need to go to the basics. The first, and for you to do that, we need to answer the W's and the H's.
Yes.
Yeah. The first is on why are we privatizing? What exactly are we selling? And who are we selling to? When are we selling? How are we selling? And how much are we then selling? And then once we sell, where is the money going to? Yeah. So I think those are the kind of the basics and the fundamentals of the privatization question.
Right.
When you talk about why are we selling, you see, you can be selling to raise revenue, to bring in strategic investors, or even to increase the efficiency of the company, and to, even to reduce debt for the government. But then, when you not everything should be sold, yeah, because when you're saying that you're selling to raise revenue, and then all that revenue is going into short-term gains or to pay the current bills, then really it does not make sense to sell the golden goose to pay the just the basics,
the bills.
The bills. There needs to be a proper reason of why we are selling. When we look at what exactly are we selling, not everything is for sale. Safaricom is, for example, if we think of Safaricom, it's not just a factory. It's actually provides the digital backbone for the entire country. All the rails for payments in the country, 90% are actually based off Safaricom. 30 million plus customers. So essentially, as you're selling it, you need to think of it that way. So, but the question of what are we selling, we need a proper list of all the companies that we are selling, including why we are selling them, so that we can understand as Kenyans why these companies are being sold. Because these are companies that have been there for very long. Yeah, some of them very strategic in nature. When you're talking of KPC, when you're talking of, are there any companies that actually have national intelligence consequences if actually you sell them? When you look at the issues of who are we selling to, it's not even just about foreigners, because whatever is on the stock exchange has a lot of foreign investments. It's on, are there any possibilities that there are some people positioning themselves on the other side to acquire a stake in the companies that we are selling. So the transparency. No, you cannot privatize transparency. Yeah, people want to actually know exactly what is happening. In the Safaricom instance, for example, we are seeing the government currently owning 35%. Vodafone owns 40%. When you sell to them 15%, you're essentially making them a majority at 55%. So the question is, at 55%, what changes? Effective control changes. Yes, the board seats remain the same, but now effective control changes. It's their money. Yeah, and so it's not really about even foreigners, because even at the moment, a lot of foreigners actually own Safaricom. Equity Bank is a foreign-owned bank. It's no longer local, but all of us consider it local. So the person who's buying this extra 15% to be at 55%, what are their plans for M-Pesa? What are their plans for the role that Safaricom actually plays in our local economy? Yeah. When now you look at when is this happening? When are we selling in terms of privatization? I always look at if there's an urgency to sell, it's always a concern. So when you have an urgency and you have physical indiscipline then is a major concern because then it means that the money can flow wherever the politicians want. Then how are we selling this? It's really about the process. And the recent Privatization Act that was passed by Parliament in October last year lays out the different methodologies for selling our state assets. So we need independent valuations. We need to proper competition to ascertain that proper competition has been done. Who are the transaction advisors? Because there is even a penalty for transaction advisors giving the wrong valuation, using the wrong methodologies or giving the wrong figures. So, you see, we always say that reforms without a process is actually transfer of wealth. Yeah, if we are just reforming and the process is not clear, then essentially there's somebody else who will be benefiting. Yeah, and then finally, how much are we selling? This is a key question on valuation. And of course, for me, I'm an investment banker background, and we spend a lot of time all the time when we are looking at valuations, because the valuations is, if you look at, for example, KPC today, selling at 9 shillings, you're looking at the different asset, the research houses that have done the valuation pricing. You find some like Old Mutual in Uganda pricing it about 4.3 shillings. Others, I think there was a lower one at 3.9 shillings. Of course, there's none that was been higher than 9 shillings. So again, the question of the how much are we selling, it needs to be very open in terms of how if you look at Safaricom, for example, we are selling at 245 billion. Last year, the state received about, Safaricom paid a dividend of about 48 billion. So if you do that 5% of that, it's about 17, 18 billion what the state received, meaning that Safaricom is growing. So maybe this year they'll get 20 billion. If you look at the next 10 years, the Safaricom dividends to the state will be higher than the price that they're selling today, that stake. So the question is it worth it? Should they be looking at it that way purely from a valuation point? Should they up the valuation when somebody is actually acquiring effective control? Usually they pay a significant premium for that. So it's not really, we cannot be told that Vodacom is paying a premium and that is a favor they're doing us. No, they're actually supposed to pay a huge, heavy premium because then they have effective control. And finally, there's a question of where is the money going to? Right. We've seen the bill that has now come to the National Assembly on the National Infrastructure Bill, which I'm glad that the bill came, because before it was money to be put in a side pocket. The Constitution under Article 206 actually speaks on the need, all the funds that are proceeds for the national government to go into the Constitution, consolidated fund for purposes of National Assembly appropriations. The same with the Privatization Act of 2025, again was very explicit that unlike the Privatization Act that it replaced, that all the funds and proceeds from privatization go into the consolidated fund. The previous one allowed for the special purpose vehicles to be created by the Minister for Finance, and that is actually what was eliminated. But about 3 or 4 months later, we are back here where we are actually taking ourselves to the previous act. And the questions are, what are we hiding from the Kenyans? Do we want executive control on full executive control on the fund? Why don't we want Parliament oversight on it? How much involvement is the Auditor General on that? How much of the parliamentary appropriations power do they have on the National Infrastructure Fund? I think those are all very critical and important questions that we need to answer as Kenyans.
Okay. Irungu, you've done well. You've walked us through the W's and the H, and they're all legitimate and valid. But to some extent, right? To the extent that questions could be asked or questions could be answered, and to the extent of the knowledge that then there would be. For example, the issue of that, why should the government sell these particular assets, and the open debate that's around it, right? If you were to sit as the investment banker and somebody who has served in government, right, and you look at what we've done before with privatization, why did the government sell its shares in Safaricom in the first place, right, in the initial IPO? Why is the government selling shares in the current IPO? What did the government do with the money that it got in the first IPO of Safaricom?
You see, the IPO for Safaricom, I think, was important because it was mostly it was free float. Actually, it was just listing the company on the stock exchange, because Vodacom was still a shareholder. By then, Mobitelea was a shareholder, and many others were exiting. So it was more to raise revenue for budgetary support, and also to allow more Kenyans to own the share. And you see, even now, the question is not on that. We are not saying that government should not sell Safaricom. No, it's one that who are they selling to? That's a key question and concern. That you are selling to a company that then consolidates control. If government only wants to raise revenue, they can actually do a follow-on IPO. It's done all the time. That allows Kenyans and others to actually acquire the shares of Safaricom, and which are not there on in the market. If, for example, they had done that, what usually even they do is that you have someone like Vodacom do and underwrite the entire rights issue or the IPO, and says whatever shares will not be bought by the public, we will buy.
Mop them up.
We'll mop them up. That guarantees the success of the IPO. But then also, if now Vodacom needs to, if people, Kenyans who are saying we will buy, don't buy, then Vodacom can get it.
Okay.
And then there's what I was reading about the Beyond British Petroleum, BP, which is, they call it Beyond Petroleum now. And when they were selling their stake to the public, I think that's after the World War, with Winston Churchill was there. They sold and then retained golden shares. The golden shares were actually veto powers. That because it's a significant national asset, they have power on certain things, on where do they go to, how do they invest their money, where do they drill the rigs. So there's a role that the government plays, because Safaricom is not a factory where you just walk in and walk out. This is actually Kenya's premium blue chip company, top blue chip company. The government, there are things of national security. When you're talking of IBC, all those the communication on that is relayed through Safaricom, and essentially there's a lot more government control that there should be on ownership. So, for example, if the government had said, yes, we are retaining veto on XYZ, that would show us as Kenyans that there is more consideration than price.
Would you consider what both the National Treasury CS and the Vodacom board chair said, which is that in their negotiations, they agreed on certain things that will not change? Would you consider that being government still retaining some control, some veto? So, for example, that the board shall always have majority Kenyan, that the CEO will be Kenyan, that the staff will, even in this entire movement, will not be affected, So there's still some level of control that the government is having in this particular sale agreement that is there. Would you consider that to be equivalent to the government retaining some, whatever you call, preferential share or veto power?
It's better when it's explicit. You see, when governments change, you see the next government will come, and the same question you asked me about why we sold Safaricom in the first place. You know, it's so many years back that we've forgotten. Yeah, so the new person who comes in 10 years later might be like, okay, it was there, but it's not as important today. But you see, but if it's actually put in, it comes in that form of like a golden share of different class of shares, then the government is allocated, and whose rights are very well stipulated. Even in time, it will never change. And for that to change, then a new argument during that time will actually have to be raised. These sale agreements, you see, there are always addendums. Come and whether or not they are Kenyans is not a point, because there are some Kenyans who will be placed on the board for the interest of the Vodacom or the foreign investor. So it really beats the purpose for it all.
When we had CS Mbadi here, asked him about why not go to the market, essentially let Kenyans buy in. His argument was that with this coming so close to the KPC IPO, the market would have been a bit saturated, or, for lack of a better word, it would have been a bit much for the NSE
coming to the market twice.
Twice in a span of less than a month.
I was looking at the Tesla stock. It's 80% float. With Elon Musk owning about 9-12%, and a few other Vanguard and the others, and then the rest of it is actually float. Float by retail. I mean retail. And in Kenya, if you look at the bonds market, we are now, this year we'll be borrowing over 1 trillion shillings, and in the local market. And that will come from our asset managers, our individual retail investors. So you cannot tell me then that 120 billion plus 245 billion, which is 365 billion, will become completely impossible for Kenyans to invest. You're
saying there's enough money in the market?
There's enough money. Actually, money is chasing assets. If you look at the stock exchange today, it's actually overheating because of lack of assets in the stock exchange. But
then the KPC IPO was a bit undersubscribed. It didn't perform.
You see, it's a question of price. It's a question of price. If people feel that it's overpriced, then you will not get buyers. I remember I'm the one who did the IPO for Britam. That was in 2010. I think it was 2010. And we had a very heated conversation with the board when I came and presented a price of 6 shillings, actually 580 shillings. And the other advisor, because we were two, came in and said, no, the price is 9 shillings. And I remember Jim Nambaru, because he was one of the board members supporting my pricing, and the others, of course, supporting a higher pricing. And we were stuck there for about 4 or 5 hours just trying to convince. Eventually, we went to the price of 9. And when the market came out and said that the price is, the IPO is overpriced, we actually only managed to get about 60% subscription on the shares. So because it's the same investors, they're looking at it as saying, if we buy it at 9 shillings, the upside potential is very limited, meaning that the price will come down, and we will, even if we are in for the long term, we'd rather just wait for the price to come down, then buy it on the cheap. So that's why you'll find that even the likes of the KPC being undersubscribed, I'm not surprised. With
the retail investors. Still on this issue of Safaricom, the matter was before the Joint Parliamentary Committee, which I think has presented its report, if I remember correctly. But many of the people who submitted before the committee, including investment bankers, stockbrokers, Association of Bankers, many of them were saying, you should have come to the market. Others were saying, come bring all the shares to the market. Others were saying, split some shares, bring to the market. There were those that said, okay, give Vodacom that 15%, add another 5% and bring to the market. Is the issue just not going to the market? Because here is, nobody now is saying, don't sell. It's just how you're selling it. Is that really...
Or how much?
It's what I was saying about transparency. when people lose faith in government, then anything that is done behind closed doors raises suspicion. And it's a question of, is there a reason why we are selling to Vodacom? Why are we giving them 55% control? If it's about the money, we can raise the money anyway. Yeah. So you see, that's the biggest concern.
Right.
Yeah, because it does not make sense when you're saying you're handing control to a foreign corporate with at a minimal premium. If, for example, they were paying a huge premium of maybe maybe 400-500 billion, then you're like, okay, now this one makes sense. If we brought it to the market, the market will not pay such a premium. Yeah. But if it's a small premium of 2 years of dividend, then it doesn't really. You can wait for 2 years, then sell after that.
So it's a question about the value.
Yes.
Here, because
I think it's transparency.
I hear so many things, and
it's
maybe
mostly transparency.
Because I hear so many things, Mariam. I hear the issue of value, how much have we left on the table?
Yes.
Then I hear the other issue of, the approach should have come to the market instead of negotiating behind closed doors. And I ask myself, if the government had identified another strategic investor and had a conversation with that strategic investor behind closed doors, would it still be an issue?
Is it competitive bidding?
So that you're not saying, let's even say that they're given that
it's
premium.
Competitive bidding. You see, if it's competitive bidding, where you announce we want to sell 15% of our shares, and everybody who wants to buy in, come in. Yeah.
Okay.
ESA will come, MTN will come, so Vodacom will come.
Yeah.
Then based on all those, then you look at which one gives you the best value.
Okay.
Of course, Vodacom will now pay a significant premium because of the control, and also they know that they are wrestling it from the others.
They're competing.
They're competing with others.
Then the other issue is the 55% control. And we come up with all these issues that we say. Sentimentally, Safaricom holds our data. IEBC uses Safaricom.
Is that sentiment or
it is very sentimental.
No.
But those are facts.
It's fact.
Airtel holds a lot of our data. How much government control is there in Airtel in terms of shareholding?
If you think of Airtel, actually, I don't have the exact numbers, but M-Pesa was Airtel money.
Irungu.
Yeah.
M-Pesa is not big because government did. M-Pesa is big because Safaricom, the Safaricom company, did whatever it has done. And it has become big.
See, we are not arguing of how it got there. It's that it's there. It's big.
And nothing stops Airtel today from actually investing big and becoming big.
You see, once you have the first mover advantage, Safaricom is already there. To move people from there, the kind of investment required will not make economic sense.
The number of subscribers that Safaricom has are not locked on Safaricom. That these other players, Telkom could get another strategic investor tomorrow who comes in big time and actually chews into Safaricom's market share. Airtel could wake up tomorrow with a new strategy that chews into Safaricom's market share. And then we'll be talking about, our data. How much money transfer happens on the Airtel platform? How much money transfer? That's why I'm calling it sentimental, Mariam. How much is happening on other data carrying networks? For example, Mwananchi and the others, and Liquid Telecom, which are actually carrying a lot of our data.
True.
How much
Things
is that in government?
Things could change, but as they stand,
As they stand, we have a foreigner called Airtel who carries a lot of transactions on a daily basis.
Very true.
Right? Not as many as the competition, but substantial.
Yes.
We have a local company owned fully by government called Telkom Kenya that is carrying also some substantial data and voice and all on a daily basis. We are not talking about those ones. We are looking at this one because it's big. That's why I called it maybe sentimental. But let's take a break.
Okay.
It's 29
also mentioned.
We are talking about privatization, and then when we come back, let's also look at the infrastructure fund bill that's before Parliament, because the other question you're saying is the use of the proceeds of this privatization. What are we doing? Are we just going to pay salaries and then we finish the money? Is there sufficient controls being provided in the bill before Parliament? Irungu Irungu Nyakera, he is the patron for DCP in Nairobi, but beyond that, he's an investment banker. He's served as a principal secretary in the previous government. He's here, he's our guest. Back in a moment.
All right, let's get back into conversation with Irungu Nyakera. But before that, some feedback on YouTube.
Yeah, Yedua Wakoine says, we say hello to Irungu Nyakera. And Francis says, good morning, Fixers. Can we privatize the Kenya Ports Authority? What benefits would that can that accrue? We are not using ICDs to decongest the port that we have, right? Jose says, M-Pesa is integrated with the government payment system. That's unsettling when government is willingly giving up control. KRA's ITAX system, that, for example, that pay bill, 22222, all collecting government revenues. So if the government does not have control of the carrier, then it's exposing the government, right?
Well,
How do you respond to that?
Yeah, and I'll let me add context to this question. Is it malice or desperation as far as giving a controlling stake to Vodacom? Do you read malice into it, or is it we needed money quick and Vodacom were there?
Yeah, I think that's what I was saying before. The urgency and fiscal indiscipline raise concerns, and also I don't even think that money has come as quickly as it would have come if actually we had gone on follow-on IPO, because the time that it has taken for us to have this conversation, the courts will stop it and all this. So essentially, it's been a lot messier than it would have been. I think in terms of the question that has been asked, whether we can privatize the port and the ICD not working, I think there's those strategic national assets that you will, even if you privatize, you don't privatize all of it. When I was a PS for transport, we were trying to privatize the Terminal 22, the one that we had built with the funds from JICA. And so the entire process got murky because of the interest, and we tried twice until we stopped the whole process. So we also, I know, even as we were building the Lamu port, the intention was actually to privatize it.
The entire port?
Yes, the entire port, because we already, because you already have the Mombasa port, which is fully controlled by government. Then a subsidiary ports, you might find that you might benefit from having other players, global players, like we're bringing Dubai port, Dubai World, and all the others. There was one from Hong Kong. They were interested, and so essentially we will bring different kind of business. So it is justified. It's interesting when you're looking at the greenfield terminal at the airport. Again, that's also a model that is almost like privatization. PPP is not direct privatization, but it's a model of privatization, because it allows for the private player to come in for, say, 20, 30, 40 years, 50 years, and then return their infrastructure to government, allows that money to come in. So it's all about the reasons, the whys. Do you want to do it? And I believe, like the airport, there is serious justification to do that. If we don't, there's still things like securitization of certain revenues, like the passenger tax, airport passenger tax that we charge, which can actually be securitized and give money, enough funds for the government to be able to build a new terminal, a new airport. So I think it's a different models that can be used. And so if the model that then emerges top is the one that involves giving away the asset, then Kenyans would need to know, because it's not about just our generation, it's actually about future generations. When you're looking at the question about the role of Safaricom in as the digital backbone for a digital economy, and the iTax and the IBC data and everything else, the M-Pesa is about 90% in terms of compared to Airtel Money and all the others. So M-Pesa is 90%. So if we are transferring over 3 trillion shillings through M-Pesa, transacting over 3 trillion shillings per year through M-Pesa, then certainly it's a platform that government should guard in a very big way, because a collapse of M-Pesa then means actually the collapse of our digital economy, which is a huge contributor to our GDP. Would we still be able to do it even with government if government did not have shares in Safaricom? Yes. It just means we need to know know what powers the government has to stop the investors of the day from putting up measures that make it impossible
for government to transact.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to really dwell on that because I don't want to bring in the dominant player conversations. I'm sure the Competition Authority would have a say on one of those issues. However, what I'm hearing from you, Irungu, is that it's not a no to privatization. It's the why, the when, the how we go about it. You have served as a principal secretary in the National Treasury, right? If you are PS in the National Treasury today, what would you be advising your CS and, in extension, the cabinet and the president?
I think the key question right now is actually on the infrastructure bill that's in the National Assembly. And the infrastructure bill came as an afterthought. So it's a question of, do we legislate and then structure, or do we structure then legislate? Yeah. And I think it came about because of the concerns and the raised by Kenyans on what is this animal called the infrastructure fund. Because as we have clearly pointed out here, the Article 206 of the Constitution and the Privatization Act all speak to the consolidated fund being the destination for proceeds from privatization. So when you look at if KPC is closing soon, I think that the funds will start being remitted soon. I have not looked at the timetable. So where will the money go? Will the money go to the private infrastructure fund that is not a legal entity because the bill has not, or will it go into the consolidated fund? And if that infrastructure fund gets challenged in court and is there for another 6 months, what happens to the proceeds from KPC? The same.
Maybe explain to us why the infrastructure fund was set up, because if it's still going to end up in the consolidated fund, why not just mortgage there immediately?
I think the infrastructure fund has no intention of being taken to the consolidated fund. It's actually to be operated separately. It's a side pocket for the government, for the executive, to be able to handle the money. And and that's why we are all looking at what are we ring fencing the money for? And who are we also ring fencing oversight? Because you see it's created by the Minister for Finance. It's run under the executive cabinet approvals and all of that. So at what point? So are we relegating the role of Parliament in appropriation for funds that are going into the infrastructure fund? I think that's the key concern for Kenyans, because then who decides which roads are priority to be constructed and to be funded through the infrastructure fund? And if at all this still goes back to Parliament, then what's the point of having the fund in the first place? Why can't the money, as you're saying, just go into the consolidated fund and then be appropriated appropriately?
But we have other funds, right? For example, we have the Road Maintenance Levy Fund.
Yes.
We have the Sports Fund.
Yes.
And all, which get proceeds from other pockets and they go into those ring-fence pockets.
Yes.
Who manages the appropriation of these funds?
You see, for
example, the Road Maintenance Levy Fund.
Yes. So the Road Maintenance Levy Fund is very well, the source of the funds is very clear, from the tax on the fuel collections and all that.
Yeah.
And the funds are specifically for maintenance of roads. And the allocations which have been in place in terms of how do you, what's the percentage of the funds that go to the highways, what's the percentage of funds that go to the level 4, how much funds go to Kura, how much funds go to Kera. So since these institutions are already in place, they wait for funds from the RLMLF. And again, those are funds that are created from
by Parliament?
Still by Parliament.
Okay.
And that's why the infrastructure fund, again, has to be created by Parliament. And the justification of which needs to, again, be presented to Parliament. Why are we creating it? Because if you are creating it, having received funds, broad funds, some from Safaricom, some from KPC, some from Kwal, some from KICC sale, and into this fund, and they're generally to be spent across the entire country for different things. If it's the port expansion, if it's the airport, if it is roads. So it's nothing specific. It means then they will have to be appropriated by Parliament. Specifically. You see, because there's no formula of certain amount of money that will be coming every year. These sometimes are one-offs. Yeah. So how is it done? And especially if you're talking about 5 trillion shillings, this is not my money and your money. This is money that will be paid by future generation, our grandchildren. Yeah. So we have to protect that.
Okay. I'm also thinking through who, for example, in the case of the KPC IPO, will be on the other is on the other end, who is buying. There's, of course, it's open to the market, so a lot of retail investors, but also I'm assuming a lot of institutional investors who may want to come in. There's also that assumption sometimes that you hear in certain quarters that it could be set up for institutional investors to be the ones that benefit as opposed to Mwananchi. And then it's like, okay, who are these institutional investors? Who is behind them? Where's that coming from? Is this the idea of going public but not really going public?
So when you're talking about the institutional investors, there are two classes. There is your pension funds and your money market funds and your retail, the institutional funds that represent retail investors, mutual funds and all that, which again is okay because your NSSF, because those are actually buying on behalf of clients. So you find that the beneficial shareholders are you and I. And they are spread across.
So at the end of the day, it's a win.
The end of the day is a winner because then it allows for more of asset class, the expansion of the assets that are available for the stock in the stock exchange. Then you have sophisticated investors, which are corporates. For example, you come and find there's some company from Calgary in Canada that has come and bought 10-15% and has been allocated. And you've not done proper DD on who this company is, who are the beneficial shareholders, or some company in Jersey from the Jersey Islands has come and has bought 10-20% of this. These are the ones that we need to know. Who are these major shareholders? The CMA Act is very clear on shareholding beyond 5%, which actually now is 3%, where the beneficial shareholding must be disclosed. So even at the point of the IPO, anybody who's acquiring more than 3% has to disclose who they are. Because we don't want we are selling from this side and the same person selling from this side is also taking on the other side.
Is it too early to know from the KPC IPO if there's anyone who is likely to have acquired more than 3%?
I think they would have to disclose, and it will have to get CMA approval for such. And because there are certain thresholds that, for example, once you hit 25% stake, even increasing by 1%, you actually need to notify the CMA by 5% per year. You have to notify CMA and indicate whether or not you have an intention of acquiring the entire company. So which is why we were saying even for the Vodacom, given that they already have 40%, the acquisition of 15% or intention to acquire 15% should already have been published with the CMA and indication of whether or not they intend to acquire their 100% shares in the companies under the mergers and acquisition regulations.
Given that, I'm just trying to go through what was how the KPC IPO was meant to be divided, right? There was 5% to go to staff, another 5% to oil marketing companies, and then 20% to retail investors, another 20 to institutional investors, and then 20 to our our East African neighbors, and another 20% to foreign investors. I think then the opportunities for that would be the foreign and the institutional. That's about 40. So it's possible there then that you could have people gathering up 3, 4, 5%, right?
Even our neighbors, I was surprised that the Old Mutual in Uganda is one has priced the shares the lowest price. And so I reached out to some of them and I asked them how come, because we understand that the NSSF for Uganda was supposed to actually acquire about 10 billion. To bring about 10 billion shillings. And then I was told that there was a bit of interference in terms of the investment by NSF on who will be getting the commissions on the placement. And with that disagreement, the
other
players came in, and now you've seen at 4.3 shillings versus 9, NSSF might not be coming in after all.
So there's interest in the region.
So it's just interest, for personal interests. People want to get commissions and all that. So,
but where we are at, the ship has sailed on several fronts. The ship has sailed in terms of conversations between the National Treasury and Vodacom. The matter has been taken to Parliament. I've actually been alerted that the Parliamentary Committee is now preparing its report, and then it shall hand it over to Parliament on this particular matter. The Infrastructure Fund Bill is before Parliament. So just the same things that Mbadi had come and told us, we have started these conversations, and by the time we are targeting that, by the time we finish the conversation about the sale of these shares, the fund will also be ready. We'll have gone through Parliament. I know it's just timing, so that by the time this is done, there's a ready vehicle to hold, the fund will be ready to take. So some of these things are already in motion. What do we need to know, and what do we need to do?
You know, the beauty with Kenya is that you can never say that the ship has sailed from one arm of government. There's another arm. There's a judiciary. Yeah. So if Kenyans feel that whatever the outcome of the legislation is not pro-Kenya, they still have an avenue to go to the courts, which can still stop that entire process. So I think even as Parliament is debating this, because nobody, you see, all of us, we are in it for different reasons. There are some who are in it for themselves, and there are some who are in it for Kenya. We do hope that the parliamentarians can be in it for Kenyans. We know that they've really been there for Kenyans. So maybe this can be a first for can be a first for them. And
you're pleading with your conscience.
And the judiciary should also be open again. And what I like about the judiciary is always that it's never pro-government. It's pro-people. So if they feel that something is not being done right, then they will defend the constitution.
Okay.
Looking
at a few questions coming from YouTube. So ask Irungu to give his professional view on the KPC IPO. Is it a good buy? I think for himself as a retail buyer.
Yeah. I think for me I've read a few of the reports. I read the one for NCBA, I read the one for Old Mutual, I read there's one done by Kestrel Capital, which were all putting the price way below. I think NCB had put about 6 shillings, Kestrel Capital about 4.3, then the one for Mutual 4.6 shillings. So quite a number of them, other than the pro-government one, which are the transaction advisors, the FAIDA, which had put it at 9 shillings. So I feel maybe it's true that it's overvalued, but I think it's really going to be need a lot of convincing by people. You see, the thing is, once the stock is listed, it is also available for secondary trading.
Yes.
So if you feel that it is overvalued, you can wait. Yeah, when it comes back and you find it at 3 shillings, buy and wait, because there's nowhere KPC won't go anywhere. It's like Kengen. Yeah, it will trade at 10 shillings, 2 shillings, but it will be there forever.
It will stay.
Yeah, it will stay.
Someone else is asking just before Latif, what are Nyakera's views on the central bank's plan to release the digital shilling? That's the central bank digital currency.
I think we have to be realistic in terms of where the world is moving. We might not go directly into the cryptocurrencies, but we have to move towards a direction of where the world is moving. And I like that the central bank has been very conservative in its approach on many things, in particular on cryptocurrency, but on digital shilling, which I've looked, I think it's more aligned with our currently the digital economy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go in the final 3 minutes on a bit of Nairobi matters. The last time you were here, you told us that you were looking at being the next governor of Nairobi.
Yes.
Now, we've had issues recently, with the governor going to the county assembly and saying there's collaboration with the national government. And when he was asked on that, are you doing an NMS kind of, collaboration? He said, no, we are not signing off functions, but we are accepting help from the national government. When he had an interview with Peter Muthoka a few days ago, he said there's also pressure from some quarters within the national government to cede control of some elements, of course, for the political and financial expediency. What would you do if you were governor and you are here at the seat of the national government? Would you collaborate with the national government? To what extent? Would you tell the national government to bugger off and keep off?
I think, you see, the national government has to take a huge interest in Nairobi. Remember that Nairobi is the seat of the national government. Nairobi is the entry point to Kenya. Anyone coming to Kenya and seeing Nairobi as it is, sometimes they don't even go beyond Nairobi. So that's the impression that they are left of Nairobi. So the national government has to take a keen interest on Nairobi. When you saw NMS, it was not because of partnership or collaborations, because that the governor had failed. The governor had been unable to manage Nairobi, and on revenue collections, on infrastructure, on development, on practically everything. And that's why the national government stepped in and entered into a partnership where NMS took over functions from the governor. And right after that, then they impeached the governor. Now it was the opposite. They were impeaching the governor, and the reasons why they were impeaching him were laid out, especially by the MCAs. The issues of garbage, the issues of insecurity, no street lights, the issue of the infrastructure itself not being maintained, and really the governor not speaking on any of those issues. And when the president said that we will not ask the MCAs not to impeach the governor and give them 6 months, he also said that the national government will come in on issues of garbage, on the Dandora dam site, on issues of collections, then on issues of street lighting, the issue of roads, and that's what has come to pass. So the government has not come in because the governor is performing. The government has come in because he has failed. So if you're asking me what will I be doing, trust me, I will never get to that point. That's why Nairobi needs a manager. We don't need the politicians. They have failed us. I think Nairobi needs to be managed. And it creates, because the issues for Nairobians are hard workers. You see, Nairobians are not even seeking handouts. They just need systems to work. They need roads, passable roads. They need to be able to move at night, even to generate or have that 24-hour economy. They need drainage to be sorted, so that when it rains, it does not flood. They need water in their taps, so that you don't have water at the Royal Golf Course and there's no water in Kibra, which is right next. So I think that's what Nairobi wants. And they want equity. And
it's not rocket science.
It's not rocket science. So we will never get
until you get there. You realize you're actually inside a rocket. And you need to be able to understand the science.
No, we've been in other positions in government which were even bigger, and where once you're in, the thing is you can never run it alone. You have to run it with others.
The national government.
With the national government, you have to run it with the stakeholders, and you have to have a team of professionals who can help you run Nairobi. Otherwise, you will sink.
Okay. 2 minutes to 8. Thank you very much, Irungu Nyakera, who is the patron for DCP in Nairobi, former PS in government. We've been talking about the privatization and the quest for privatization. In the next hour, we look at budgets. So the budget process has now entered Parliament with the presentation of the budget policy statement before Parliament. Kiba Houghton is an economist and a Gen Z. He'll be here next. He's been here before. He'll come to just take us through this budget. The government wants to spend 4.7 trillion shillings next year, up from the 4.3 trillion that they asked to spend last year. I'm being very careful with those words. They asked to spend 4.3 trillion shillings.
They spent how much?
We don't know yet. We will see. He'll tell us. Keep it here for that. Good morning.